Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast, presented by Toyota and Bet365, the Cubs wake up and avoid the sweep to the Reds. Who deserves credit? Now that's debatable. Plus, Horton's heroes, and this show will be immaculate. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? This is the CHGO Cubs podcast, driven by Toyota. Let's go places and Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use the code CHGO365 at sign-up. Big win for the Cubs, 6-1 over the Reds. They avoid the sweep. Slump? What slump? No slump. We're going to talk all about it. We had the Immaculate Inning. We had Horton. We had home runs. We had Hoge in the stands. And we have you in the live YouTube chat. We appreciate you jumping in on the all-new CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. I see Bobby Blanco's here. KM's here. Was that Isaiah that said, is Cade him? Yeah? Hurtado, is Cade him? Question mark. We will discuss that as well. It was overall just a great game. Want to tell you, though, right away, because now that we're back in a positive mood, that deal that we're talking about, where we have the takeover next Friday against the Pirates, rooftop deal, includes your food and drink, all you can handle at the rooftop next to the firehouse with the CHGO diehards. We are now opening it up to everybody else. Now that we got the diehards their tickets, now it's open up to everybody else.
The general public?
But here's the great part. It's a twofer.
It is.
It's twice as tasty now because it's not just the Pirates game. What you're paying for is 2 games on the rooftop, Friday against the Pirates, and then one of the doubleheader games. It's the night game against the Brewers that following Monday. So honestly, I could see people just buying it for that game. That's going to be one of the biggest games of the year. So, but obviously they're both very important. Anyways, great deal right now. Go to allchgo.com. Get in on it before tickets are gone. 2 for the price of 1. Hang with us on a rooftop.
Can't beat
in left field, and it's all the food and drink you can handle. And we'll meet at Murphy's beforehand.
Yeah, and to respond to Willem here, LFG Cubs agree. Apologies if this is redundant, but is it worth it to become a diehard? If I don't live in Chicago, visit a bunch. We'll be at Pirates games and would love to meet the gang.
Yes.
Long, short answer. Absolutely, Willem. First of all, you get exclusive content on the website from Adam Johns, who will be doing feature stories, dialed in as best as anyone else. And by the way, this gentleman right here, newsletters, keeping you up to date on all the Chicago sports, Chicago Bears stuff all fall long. You get discounts on merch, so you can pick up your shirt, wear the CHGO gear proudly throughout town.
Yep.
And then when you
Jared
come in,
Wyllys writing on the Cubs.
Jared Wyllys writing about the Cubs. We're going to get to that a little bit later today about a special feature that he's working on. And then on top of that, too, as well, we are going to do events here in Chicago, so when you come into town, that's great. But, you know, I don't know where you live, but we go to Vegas. We go to Arizona. We might be in spring training next year. You never know. What? We're not going to Vegas?
You said we were going to Vegas.
Hold on.
I don't think I'm going to Vegas, for what it's worth.
Oh, man.
You're not going to Vegas?
I don't think I was invited.
This is.
They told me I could go, but I got to get one of those crazy tattoos on my face.
They told me that I could go if I bring along 5 diehard deals or 5 new diehards. So that's what we need.
All
right. Yeah, Willem, do it.
Anyway,
Willem,
the
become
Cubs.
a diehard. Cubs win. Sigh of relief today.
Yeah.
Everyone can take a little bit of a breath. You know, last night felt like last couple nights, right, doing the shows and hanging out here in the chat with us. Thank you for coming back. It's felt like a little bit of a bad dream. A bad dream that still is rooted in reality. But today is really nice to get a lot of different Cubs back on track, a lot of Cubs that we talked about last night. It starts first and foremost with Cade Horton, but Patrick, man, this is a huge Cubs win. We needed it big time heading into the off day.
I've seen it said in the chat already, but this is the reaction that I had watching Cade Horton. Dog. Like, that's That's the mentality that Cade Horton is bringing to this clubhouse right now.
DAWG.
DAWG.
Just confirming.
Yep. 23 and a third, I believe, is what we're at in terms of scoreless innings right now. You had the strikeout numbers, I think.
But it's the longest scoreless streak for a Cubs rookie pitcher in history.
Yeah, and that's not surprising because that's a tough thing to do. It's tough for a veteran to pull that off too. And so he's looked fantastic. The only reason why I feel like he's not going deeper into games is because they're looking out for his pitch count, which is the wise move at this point in his career. He's never thrown this many innings in a year. They're in a really good spot because of Cade Horton after today. We kind of talk about it. They didn't acquire they didn't acquire the playoff arm that they probably needed at the trade deadline. If Cade Horton can develop or can start to develop into one by September, then they're in a better spot than we thought.
Listen, the pitch count thing is they don't have a lot of choices. The one choice is just burn him out, see how long he goes. The other one is to just shut him down at some point. Well, that's not an option either because of what they need. So they've decided instead of maybe skipping several starts to save those innings, looks like they're going to trim him back to like 75 pitches, at least for now, and see if that can save him for late in the season. Today you mentioned it, super efficient, 67 pitches, 56 for strikes, and his ERA is now down to 3.18. What's awesome about that efficiency and the 56 strikes in 67 pitches is that's like the biggest thing they wanted him to work on when he was in Iowa was, listen, you got to cut down on the walk, stop wasting pitches. And today you saw him get almost through 6 full innings, and it was fast. It was bing, 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 because he was pounding the strike zone. So I ask you this question, and I know it's a big if because of all the things we've said the previous 4 or 5 days. If the Cubs get into the postseason, would you hand the ball to Cade Horton in a Game 3?
Oh, absolutely.
Instead of maybe a resurgent Tyone or anybody else you want to say. Right now, would Horton be your Game 3 starter?
So I'm willing to play TBD on Tyone because he has had a very solid stretch during the season. He has to come back healthy. That last start in Iowa, clearly not good enough for what we're trying to do. He's going to have to stay down there to prove that he's a little bit back to a little bit of what we've expected from Tyone before we can bring him back up. In the parlance of 2025, when we talk about the playoffs, starting Cade Horton in a Game 3 isn't much to me, right? Because he could still give you 3 really strong innings, and you can match up your way through the rest of the game. And I think that's hopefully what the Cubs are doing, with some bullpen depth, and we'll get into a little bit of Javier Assad. But at this point right now, I think Cade Horton, from the moment that he came up to as well, and you brought up the concept of, you're going to graduate to the major leagues if you throw strikes.
Yeah.
I think that he's really proven that from the jump, and he's had great stretches of not only just control, but also swing and miss too as well. I just think that him and his curveball and his fastball, he looked really locked in today. As you mentioned, first pitch strikes, Tommy Hodavy's system, they absolutely love that. And you're seeing a lot of great results right now, and this is great news. We did this thing, we've been banging on the offense a lot the last couple of days, and rightfully so, because if you look at this series, who sat out Game 1? PCA. Who sat out last night? Seiya. Who sat out today? Kyle Tucker. So they're giving everyone a blow. And if you looked at the lineup today, you can tell that Craig Counsell's kind of throwing the kitchen sink at it and trying to mix things up. But going back to August 1st, the day after the trade deadline, if you look at it, the Chicago Cubs and their starting rotation. Now, I'm not counting Mike Soroka because Ben Brown is what I'm including in what we're looking moving forward. But 27 innings, only 4 earned runs allowed. That started with Cade Horton and in his first turn on August 1. We got 7 shutout innings from Mr. Matthew Boyd. We got an okay Colin Ray-ish start, 4 2/3, 2 innings, but still, I'm not going to get upset about that. 4 runs, 1 run from Ben Brown, and then we got a great start from Shota last night, and then we got a great start from Cade Horton today. So if you're looking for bright spots, if you're saying, I'm not buying it that the offense is 100% back, which we're going to walk through, this last turn of the rotation does give me a lot of optimism and it gives the Cubs fans a little bit of a good feeling heading into this weekend series against the Cardinals.
Patrick, you know what Cade Horton has done besides make me confident in him? He's done exactly what we were hoping Ben Brown was going to do this season.
That's a great point.
he started slowly, but it's incrementally just kind of gotten better and better and better. And now all of a sudden you have faith when he takes that ball that he can get it done. And so I still think they needed another starter. And I like what Niren says. Maybe he's a bridge guy if you get to the postseason. Listen, if he's pitching like this, I'm not against him being the number 3 starter in a game 3. But we have to see what Tyone's like when he comes back. I just know that we hoped that both Ben Brown and Cade Horton would make this jump. It sure looks like Cade Horton's making this jump.
Well, and in a postseason too, you're not going to throw it. You're not going to have a guy on a modified pitch count of say 75.
Yeah,
and then let him throw 100 in a playoff game, right? Think back to 2012. I think it was the Nationals who shut down Steven Strasburg. Entering the playoffs, they didn't even let him pitch in the playoffs because he was coming off of Tommy John. This is a situation in which I'm glad that the Cubs will take the cautious approach. They are in a tough spot to justify the cautious approach. They have to do it, but, coming into today, you're down 4 against the Brewers after being up 4 a month ago. If Cade Horton's going to be a big part of your rotation and going to be that number 3 guy, because let's say that Jameson Taillon isn't or doesn't bounce back the way that you hope when he comes back from injury, or Javier Assad doesn't provide you what you're hoping for down the stretch. If Cade Horton's your number 3, you're going to need him for more than 5 innings at a time.
And really quick, the good news about this Cubs protection plan that Jed Hoyer is trying to do with Cade Horton in his last 4 starts, that scoreless streak, 77 pitches per start. So Cade Horton is helping out this protection plan by being incredibly efficient in getting through these starts. If he was at 77 pitches per start and you had to take him out in the 3rd inning, you could start having that conversation of, is the bullpen getting taxed a little bit? How long is this sustainable for a starter to only be able to give you 3 innings at a time? But the way that Cade is pitching right now, it is helping make that protection plan successful. And as long as that keeps working, it's good news for Cubs.
Jacob in the live YouTube chat says, Horton seems to have an edge on the mound like Lester style. Oh, you just made Corey Friedman sweat. He's so excited by that comment. Listen, one thing I have to give the Cubs credit for is something they've done a lot this season. When they get knocked down, they do respond. It's not always the next game. Sometimes it's a couple games, in this case, where they had a couple of real duds against the Reds in the first 2 games in the series, and they weren't playing good baseball. They bounced back. Multiple guys bounced back, specifically Kittredge, who gave up 4 earned runs last night, and then he comes out, I didn't see this coming, the Immaculate Inning. The first one since Hayden Wesneski in 22. I mean, it's more rare than a no-hitter.
It is. I think there have only been about 115, 116 of them.
9 pitches, 9 strikes, 3 strikeouts.
Well,
bang, 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 bang. Grab some bench.
And I pointed to Joey with, I think, 6 strikes in the inning. And I said, hey, I think...
Yeah.
You guys didn't want to jinx it. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it.
You're the stitious, too.
Just a little stitious.
Uh-huh.
And man, he was on it. Someone said that he looks like a position player pitching in the way that he just lazily gets to the mound and finally rockets it in there.
He looks like he's playing wiffle ball in the backyard.
He's the best darn position player I've ever seen pitch in my life. That's for sure.
No. He looks. Have you ever seen the show Ozark? He looks like somebody that should be on Ozark.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
like the Jason Bateman.
Well, he should be in that show Ozark.
I don't
dealt with him.
I'm not judging him at all. I'm just saying he gives the appearance that he might be on Ozark.
I'd also like to coin a phrase for this game. As you said that they get knocked down and we'll get back up again. Cubawumba.
Cubawumba. Oh my God! Print the shirt.
Print the shirt.
The chat's letting us know 120 immaculate innings in MLB history. Thank you for
awesome.
adjusting on that.
What was it for the Cubs? They're 6th.
They're 6th.
And who were the other ones? So we know Hayden Wesneski in 22.
Milt Pappas.
Bruce Sutter.
Bruce Sutter was one. There was another
LaTroy
guy.
Hawkins.
LaTroy Hawkins.
And then we're missing one. And then also, so the last one was Hayden Wesneski in 2022. Sarah, you pulled up a graphic. This was from, I believe, Daily Random Cub. Posted this. This was the lineup in 2022. All-star Zach McKinstry, who could forget. Ian Happ still on the team. Framil Reyes, Yan Gomes, David Bodie, Alfonso Rivas, Nelson Velasquez,
yes.
Michael
Luke,
Luke, this brings you back, huh?
Former running back.
Yeah, look at this. This is like
Shout out to Cody and Ryan on
It's a
this one,
cornucopia of segments, right?
Lynn McLaughlin.
We suffered through
thank
that.
Thank you, Wrigley men. Lynn
Why can't
McLaughlin.
Velasquez get more at bats?
We got to get Rivas playing more. We'll talk more about it, including Seiya's return. But first, a word from our sponsors. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. New customers right now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. Sign up, use the code CHGO365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and then you get $150 in bonus bets whether you win or lose that bet. Plus, with the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes up by 5 runs with an instant payout on straight bets or parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app, use that code CHGO365 when you sign up. Don't forget, though, new customers, you get that $150 in bonus bets when you bet 5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code CHGO365, deposit $10, place a bet for 5, you get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in-app only.
We also want to talk about our wonderful partners over at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. It's your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. And look, if you're starting out, they have expert bud tenders there to help you, give you the guidance that you need to know. And if you're a pro, you're also going to love it because we got you covered with over 100 strains on the menu and new ones added daily. So here's what you do. You visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Just enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Remember, exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day. Only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. For existing users, you can use the code CHGO50 and you'll get 50% off Cresco Lab brand items. They got them in Wrigleyville, South Beloit, other locations, and more.
Cubs win 6-1, big win to avoid the series sweep. They will be off on Thursday. By the way, Corey and Brendan will have their normal show for you coming up on Thursday. We were talking about the fact that, first of all, Cade Horton was spectacular. Then we started talking about Kittredge. I like to call him Kitty now. Can I just call him Kitty?
Yeah, the kitty.
I feel like he deserves a nickname after an Immaculate. Last night he was not. He was Kitty Litter the night before, and today he's just Kitty. That's who he is, Kitty. It was good to see a guy bounce back because here's the thing. If you're starting guys like Cade Horton that are only going to give you 75 pitches, and you're going to try and do the same thing with Matthew Boyd to make sure that he's fresh when it comes around. And you're probably going to ease Tyone back in. And you're probably going to ease Assad back in. Yada, yada, yada. You're going to need bullpen arms. Could this guy develop? This is why they traded for him. I sure hope he's going to develop into more of what we saw today as opposed to what we saw yesterday.
I mean, it's the kind of bounce back that you like, right?
Sure.
The old Immaculate Inning to wipe away a terrible start from the night before. And of all the pitchers that were acquired, of course, one of them already off the board and on the IL. I'm remaining bullish on Kittredge. I think he is definitely a piece that can make the bullpen better and help bridge that gap. I think that you're talking about if you have to go short on a couple of guys, if Assad comes back and can only go 4 innings. I think ideally the Chicago Cubs would like to deploy him in the 7th inning with the lead, as we saw today. And the bottom line, Cubs fans, is the thing with me with Kittredge. Slider-sinker combo, okay? If the sinker doesn't sink, he will have nights like he had last night. No. If the slider and sinker are working, if it's working, I'm not saying Immaculate Inning. I do think he can be a really effective piece for the Chicago Cubs in the second half of games. So it was really nice to see him bounce back and get some of that confidence because Patrick, let's be real, man, they were booing the newly acquired Kittredge out of his kitchen last night when he left the mound. So it was nice to see him getting applause in today's game.
By the way, Patrick, did you see that yesterday in his interview with Zach Zaidman, Kittredge was talking about how great it was to come to the Cubs because, the fans won't boo you and they're all there for you.
Oh,
and then
no.
in his first game, he got booed because he gave up 4 runs in less than an inning.
I thought you were also going to say a bird flew out of his beard during the interview too as well.
Well, there's one in there.
This was one where this is my 3rd show in a row. I think on Monday night, my big takeaway was, all right, Andrew Kittredge, I'm going to really like this guy.
Yeah.
Then last night, we were off. It wasn't working. Tonight,
yes,
we are all the way back in on Andrew Kittredge.
Kitty.
The slinker.
Back in on Kitty. Listen, the Cubs, we asked for it on last night's podcast. We said, I don't know what you're going to do to get this offense out of it. I don't know what it's going to take. I said, go with the Joe Quenneville nuclear option. You can't play Kane and Taves. For Joe Madden, it was go ahead and let Contreras lead off. Let Bryant lead off. Let Rizzo lead off. Let Schwarber lead off to try and get somebody going. I said, heck, I'd even try Tucker. Seems outrageous, but why not? Nothing's working. Instead, they gave Tucker the day off. What did they do that went nuclear? They let Justin Turner bat second. That's also nuclear, in my opinion. I saw somebody in the chat say, go with this same lineup again. I don't know if I'm going that far. But whatever it was, it worked. And by the way, the day off for Seiya seems to have worked. Is he back? Well, the exit velo is 109, 105, 110, sac fly, home run. I ask you, is Seiya Suzuki back?
Well, I think that also to kind of parlay off of that too, the mark of a good manager is not running that lineup again on Friday. The mark of a good manager, and something that Joe Madden would do, was, all right, we need to get out of the rut. We got out of the rut with this lineup. It was funky. It was fun. Sure, he'd let Rizzo hit leadoff more than once in a blue moon, but he wouldn't pull out the nuclear option for too long of a stretch, because if you do that and then Justin Turner goes 0 for 4 on Friday, the nuclear option is, the key has been pulled out and we're done with that. As for Seiya Suzuki, we have discussed ad nauseum on this show how much, when he gets going, it's going to be a great stretch. It's going to be a great streak for him. These are the moments, these are the games where you feel like that is what's next. And right now, a 2-for-2 game, a walk, a sac fly, hitting the crap out of the ball. That is what the Cubs needed to get out of this rut. That's what he needed to get out of this rut. And I think that is the best sign from this game.
It was great to see. We've been talking about the PCA Tucker and Seiya trio the last couple of days. They gave PCA the day off. They brought him into the game. He immediately struck out and made a mistake on the bases after he got hit by a pitch. They gave Kyle Tucker the day off today. We're going to find out, is that a mental blow? Is that also maybe some of the rumored maybe physical maladies that he's dealing with? Maybe he's banged up. Maybe it's the finger. Maybe it's the leg. Maybe it's who knows.
Yeah.
But hopefully we see him this weekend. For Seiya today specifically, though, it was great to see his lower half matched back up with the turn on the turn of the swing on the top half right there, hitting the ball right on the nose. It looked like he walked up there and was seeing the baseball a little bit better in terms of able to spit on some pitches up in the zone. And it isn't just like, oh, well, PCA got a couple hits tonight, it's okay. Oh, Kyle Tucker got a double. I mean, Luke, these were 3 lasers.
And he took a walk too.
And he took a walk too. That's a great point. So
didn't strike out.
If we were begging and just asking for one of those 3 guys just to start getting back to who they are and maybe carry this team for a couple games, I do have optimism after today's game that Seiya Suzuki could be that guy this weekend for the Cardinals.
I see Godfather's in the live YouTube chat. I see a Godfather. I want to point out that, yes, Seiya looked much better today. All I want to see from Seiya, while this was great today, I would have been satisfied today with just not seeing him flailing on strikeouts.
Right.
That would have been the baby step I would have been willing to take. But instead, we got every time he came up to the plate, exit velos over 100 and then a walk.
He went nuclear, right?
I don't know. I hope he's back into it. That's what they need at least 2. We said last night, I don't know if PCA and Tucker and Happ and Seiya are all going to get hot at the same time. Sure, that would be wonderful. But in reality, you need like 2 of them hot at one time, and then the other 2 slowly come along, and then it ebbs and flows. The problem with what's been going on is they've all been cold.
Well, and the reality to it on top of that is that it isn't just they're hitting into bad luck or, the sequences, just the way that they've been working counts have been really poor lately, especially Kyle Tucker, which really last night really just sent like a shiver down my spine. How feeble that he looked at times, just
totally
missing on the fastball, guessing wrong on pitches outside of the zone, and a little bit with what's been going on with PCA, and I think he's at 11 Ks in his last 15, 16 plate appearances now. It's not great. At least today, though, baby steps. I'm not saying it's going to be in the right direction by Friday, but at the very least, it looked like he just kind of got under a couple of balls. Of course, he cursed and got upset after that happened. But at the very least, that's him at least tracking and squaring up a baseball. If you're a little bit underneath it, that's one thing. If you're missing by 4 or 5 inches, or if you're guessing wrong and you're chasing pitches outside of the zone, that's another thing completely. So maybe PCA can slowly start getting himself into position to turn it around. But to see what Seiya did, attack those balls in the middle in, and really hit the ball hard, obviously hit the ball out of the yard, it's a positive sign, Cubs fans. Good things happen today. Whether it turns into a winning streak or not, or stopping the slump. I mean, I think we did enough around here to stop the slump today. I think we did enough to bust it up, Luke.
Here's the deal. Like, if this turns around the Cubs offense and they get red hot against the Cardinals and it continues against the Blue Jays and the Pirates and the Brewers, yada, 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 then we will look at this day and some fans will say, well, Craig Counsell earned his $40 million. What he did was he sat each of his stars one game in that series, and look what it did for Seiya. Look how he responded in that game. And I'll say, listen, that could be possibly true. But how about what CHGO did today?
Yeah.
We sent Adam Hoge out to the ballpark with his kids. Not only did Hoge, huge Cubs fan, by the way.
Total. When we talk about living and breathing with the
Cubs fan,
as a child and as an adult,
when he walks into the house, the doorbell chime sings "Go Cubs Go."
I've heard that.
Oh,
yeah.
And did you see that? Each of the kids got a baseball. Apparently, the pitchers were out there. They threw a bunch of balls into the bleachers, and Hoge, being the great Cubs fan and athlete, caught one in one hand. He said the other one rolled up to his foot. And I said, let's be honest, you probably knocked over an old lady. He said, no, he reached around the old lady, no pass interference. There was no contact. So 2 baseballs, 1 for each kid. So if you want to thank somebody, thank Adam Hoge. Sign up to be a CHGO diehard, follow CHGO
Is
Bears.
that really the only person, though, Luke, today that's responsible
frankly,
for
that's a little
busting this
Let's be
slump?
honest, that's far-fetched. But I came in here today along with Patrick, and we said, how are we going to turn this around? And I said the donut bunch is the only way that you can get this done. Yeah. When your team is putting up donuts inning after inning, the only way you can respond is by eating said donuts. And so
Luke did.
I bought smiley face donuts at Mariano's. I stacked them up in front of me, and I got sick. How many donuts did it take for me to eat to stop the Cubs slump? That is the question that will be answered on YouTube tomorrow. How many donuts did it take for me to save the Cubs season?
You got to watch the
guesses.
clip.
Any guesses? You want over under?
I watched it. It was like watching you take ayahuasca in the office, and then you puked it all out and purged. And I saw demons like
first thing I'm going to say,
leave your mouth outside.
I didn't try any of this soft Kobayashi stuff.
No.
There was no dunking in the water. There was no sipping milk like the Hot Ones guys in between stuff. I went straight sugar.
No water.
Straight sugar.
No, we said, do you want water, Luke?
Nothing.
He was like, no, don't.
Feed me that bleached sugar. And I took it down. How many donuts did it take for me to save the season? We'll look into that.
Over under 5.5. Let's get in the chat here. Get some. I want people to put it on the record.
Those are cream filled, says Swaggy. Know that none of them were cream filled. None of them were filled.
No,
there were no Danishes and there were no Bismarcks.
I didn't see this happen.
And there were no Bavarian creams.
I would put the house on the over.
On 5.5?
Yeah, I think I'd put the house on the over.
Look, it needed to be done. After last night's game, I had written in my notes, and I didn't say it on the show. I was like, is this the darkest moment of the season? Last night.
Cam's calling 8 donuts.
Is it the bottom of the barrel? 8 donuts? Wow.
Well, I'll tell you,
That's a good call.
I used to split a dozen with a friend of mine after a middle school basketball practice. But remember, that was like 40 years ago. So we will get to Jared Wyllys joining us live from Wrigley Field in just a moment. We do want to take a quick break for some of our sponsors here at CHGO.
Just like your favorite team needs a home field advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage. And Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those big box stores. They might have a flooring department, but the person helping you with flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday and could be in the Cubs bullpen tomorrow. With Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. So you can schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. CHGO listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code CHGO. Yes, you heard right, a $350 discount with code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/CHGO for full details. 800-580-2300 Empire Today.
At Toyota's national sales event, we've got a long lineup of vehicles for summer fun. 4Runner's an off-road icon. Tundra hauls it all with its twin-turbo engine, and the Tacoma takes advantage of your adventures and takes it straight to the top. Want to ride with sizzling hot style and efficiency? Then, of course, the all-hybrid Camry is revving and ready to ride. Visit your local Chicagoland Toyota dealer or Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places.
You know, what is it like being a diehard? Oh, that's right. You can become a Chicago CHGO diehard and upgrade your fandom today. You can get access to our exclusive written content, a free t-shirt, plenty of discounts, or future merchant events, plus access to our CHGO Discord lounge where we all hang out, talk Chicago sports, and get all kinds of upset about the Cubs. So go to allchgo.com for the latest information on how you can join the thousands of CHGO diehards in our community. We can't wait to connect with you at a 120 Club at the rooftop. Come join us today.
Welcome back. Cubs win 6-1. We're going to play a game of good bet, bad bet, because Jed Hoyer said that Soroka seemed like a good bet, but maybe it's not a good bet. Maybe it's a bad bet. So we're going to play that game in a second. But first, we have a Toyota Super Chat from our friend Craig Brindle, who says he's the one that saved the season because he bet Cincinnati and the under today.
Interesting.
The Toyota Super Chat. So see, sometimes gambling can impact a game, and sometimes donuts can impact a game.
Why not both?
Sometimes Hoge can impact a game.
Why not
It takes
all
a
three?
village. It takes a village, and I love to see Cubs fans, especially number one Cub fan like Adam Hoge, leading the charge today, really, just saying, I got to get out there to the ballpark.
But did he
I gotta
risk?
get
Did
into
he
the
risk
stadium.
becoming pre-diabetic for the team? No, but I did. I did.
I mean, with the amount that you ate, that's post-diabetic at that rate, too.
Could be. Could be. I am feeling a little bit off. All right.
You could jump through the ceiling right now at any moment. You never know.
Ron, good bet, bad bet. Let's play it. Is this a good bet or a bad bet right now? That Javier Assad, who went 4 1/3, is that what he was today? 4 1/3? 4 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, 58 pitches for Iowa today. Good bet or bad bet that Javier Assad will still play a big role for the Cubs this season?
I will say bad bet. I don't love that bet. And that's because Javier Assad right now, or at least what we've seen from Javier Assad, is not as inconsistent as Ben Brown. But in terms of the innings provided, I would say that he's right up there. He will give you, on average, less than what Cade Horton will give you. And that's fine, but you can't build an entire rotation out of that. I have a feeling that we're more likely to see Javier Assad maybe as the bridge guy to come in after Cade Horton in his starts, or just in some sort of bullpen role. But it all hinges on Jameson Taillon. I just think that that's kind of where we're at. I've never been extremely high on Javier Assad. He definitely has provided a lot of value to this team in the past. And then there are also moments where he's coming out. He's a guy who gets into a lot of trouble the second time through the order. And that's kind of where he has lived so far in his career.
I think you made a great point. When I heard you say big role, my mind immediately went towards bad bet. But I am going to go, because we can't do one or the other. We can't half this. We're not going to middle this game.
Can't say mid bet.
No. So I'm going to go with good bet, and I'm just going to piggyback on what you just said, Patrick, that if you're telling me that Javier Assad can give us a couple starts and a couple turns in the rotation over the final 2 months of the season, and if you're telling me that even if at some point along the lines, Taillon does come back, we stick with Colin Ray, Javier Assad could pitch some of the most important 4th, 5th, 6th inning in games when we're trying to either chase down the division, lock it up, or secure a playoff spot, or maybe into the postseason too as well. And he does sort of feel like one of those crafty guys that, again, his whole career is fairly unassuming in terms of his profile of fastball speed, but he has multiple different pitches. So I will go with, I think it is a good bet. That start that he put out, the 4 1/3 inning, that line that you read, that's classic Javier Assad. Yeah. That's exactly what you should expect from him every single time. And if he can do that and replicate that back on the team at the major league level, I will say good bet that he could play a multifaceted role, as Patrick said, either as a starter or someone that could be a bridge guy for some of these guys that we're trying to protect down the stretch.
Or allow Ben Brown to then be the bridge guy off of him.
Yes,
right.
Also possible.
And think about the two real quick. The dynamics of those two stuff, those different stuff profiles in a game, I think is something that can get you through and get you at least 20-ish outs.
I'm with Vanilla Chill that he was super consistent last year. He was everything that you wanted him to be in that role. The only reason I'm going to say bad bet is that it's not the player. It's simply the health. We haven't seen him pitch this year. Like, you realize we're into, it's going to be mid-August before he pitches for the Cubs. And that's shocking. And the type of injury he had isn't one that you know exactly how somebody bounces back from it. So I think it's a difficult spot he's going to be put in. Can he do it? Yes. Would I bet big money on it? No, I'd hope that at least you get something from him, whether that's just becoming a reliever, just a couple of spot starts, whatever it might be. I don't know if he's going to give you a big role, so that's why I'm not going to bet big money on it. I'll call it a bad bet, but it's a hopeful bet for me. How about this? Taillon returns to form when he's healthy. So when Taillon finally comes back, he's going to go back to the guy that had like 10 quality starts in 12 outings.
See, I'm going bad bet on this one. Because,
interesting.
Well, just for several reasons. The first one is the Iowa start a couple days ago has me worried. I don't care about the ticker that's running on Marquee about why Jameson Taillon isn't worried about his Iowa start. Jameson Taillon can say that, but I shall remain worried based on that last start, and he has to stay down there for another turn to iron it out. The other one is, and I don't, and maybe this is my blind spot, because as you just mentioned with Javier Assad, I'm worried about calf strains. Calf strains to me are very similar to, I think, what shoulder and elbow injuries can be for pitchers. If you're saying that his right calf, the foot that he pushes off on to get that leverage, and he has to play, he can't live at 89, 90 miles an hour. He is going to have to get back to that 92, 93, maybe pushing 94 every once in a while. That calf strain coming back full bore, and you're asking him to be Jameson Taillon, which to me is that guy who eats up innings, that gives you 7 strong innings of 2-3 runs per start. I am not banking on that when he returns to the rotation. So thinking that Taillon's going to come back and be Taillon, who at one point I thought could have been a fringe all-star, I'm saying that's a bad bet right now.
I'm more in on it than, see, we're flipped on this.
Yeah.
I feel like Taillon can, he's got so many pitches, he's got so many ways to get back to it, so that even if he was just working on something or looking for feel, I sort of buy his story that it didn't go that well at Iowa. Because here's a guy who adjusts all the time throughout the season. And so I'm hoping Taillon can bounce back and be that guy. If I had to put it in order of who's the best bet and then who's the bad bet, I would
Mike Soroka is on the bottom?
Well, Soroka would definitely be on the bottom. I would go Taillon, Assad, and we'll talk about the next guy later.
Break the tie, Patrick. Good bet or bad bet?
I'll say it's a better bet than you think it is. He's been there before. This isn't his first injury. He hasn't had many, but it's not his first. He's found ways to bounce back after those. he is more of a veteran pitcher than Javier Assad at this point in their career. Again, I think that Javier Assad can still contribute to this team. I just don't know what that will look like right now. I think in order for the Cubs to have success in September and possibly later, they need Jameson Taillon more than they need Javier Assad.
Well, the Soroka injury and lack of starting pitchers at the trade deadline that they were able to reel in certainly allows you to look at this and say, the Cubs better hope those are good bets, that those two guys both bounce back, because that's what you're looking at right now. You can't. Horton was spectacular to see today. Maybe you got a little hope out of Ben Brown in his last outing. I got one more for you, and we'll get to Jared Wyllys here before the end of the show, as I hear he's almost ready. Justin Turner will be clutch the rest of the way. Justin Turner will be mostly clutch the rest of the way. You know how many people were upset with Justin Turner so far this season? If I had $1 for every time I heard DFA next to the name Justin Turner, I'd have some money in my pocket.
So I stepped in this one during the game, right? Because I said Justin Turner's been far more clutch than people give him credit for this year. And I threw out some numbers that did not align with what the actual numbers are. My bad.
I seem skeptical.
He's still hitting, I believe, 308 with runners in scoring position this year.
Like 308, 318, something like that.
I think that's around
308
what we
official.
decided.
308 official with runners in scoring position.
Okay, all right.
Some of the higher leverage numbers get a little more dicey.
He's got the walk-off double. He's got the walk-off home run.
He's heating up.
He's heating up. He had a double a day off the wall.
He had the Gatorade bath.
He is a guy that means a lot to this clubhouse. I know that it's not daunting, but I know that people don't love to see him in the lineup when he's there because it means that Michael Busch is typically not in there. Justin Turner is a valuable piece to this team right now. And I have a feeling, based on what we saw, here's the thing. His walk rates, his strikeout rates, his average is down. Everything else in his game right now is typically where it's been around in his career. His exit velo, like his hardest hit ball this year is 108 miles per hour. That's right in line with every other year of his career. So the power is still somewhat there. Maybe not as consistently, but he's still doing good things at the plate. And to me, that is a guy who is really going to be a crucial piece of this team down the stretch.
Last couple of days, I'm going to ride good bet with Justin Turner right now. Also, shout out to him for protecting the realm in Game of Thrones. I think that was a big move on his part. I really appreciate that. But
he's Kittredge with a red beard.
But here's the stuff that I like about Justin Turner right now. The first one is, especially when you have a guy who I think this is probably his last major league season.
Yeah.
He's healthy right now. We have seen good things in terms of bat speed, including the walk-off and some of the performance that we saw today from him. So I think that can still play through the most crucial part of the season, which is September and into October. The only question that I think it's a good bet, my only real kind of question here is that when it's nuts and bolts time and there's a lefty starter and it's September 28th, are we really going to do Justin Turner over Michael Busch, or do you want your best guys out there at all times? I think the only one that maybe would give Craig a little bit more flexibility is we'll see where Matt Shaw's at a little bit, so you can utilize Willie Castro and you could sub in Justin Turner if you want to. Also with perhaps the return of Miguel Amaya, you can do some flip-flopping a little bit of, you can start Miguel Amaya for a couple of innings. If you get the right kind of matchup, Justin Turner can come in and pinch hit, and then Carson Kelly can finish out the rest of the game. So I do think it is a good bet. I think he is a bench bat that can still help this Chicago Cubs team. As we get a little bit further along the season, I just don't want to see him start too many games. That's my only request.
I would like to see him get hot. That is no question about that. And you were talking about Amaya's return. We've got a guy that has some information on that. Jared Wyllys was at the ballpark. I believe he's still there at beautiful historic Wrigley Field. I will start before I ask you about Amaya and how he's doing, Jared. I ask you one more good bet, bad bet question that we're all going to answer. Good bet or bad bet? The Cubs' offensive slump is over as of today.
Ooh, I'll say it's a good bet. It's a good bet. Simply because the odds that this is going to continue for much longer are pretty low, because this is a team with too much talent in the lineup. And the fact that you have all of these guys kind of slumping at the same time, just the likelihood that that's going to carry on for much longer is not very good. So I'll take that as a good bet. These guys are snapping out of it. You might still see another couple frustrating games in the mix, but overall, I bet on this offense. They're back, baby.
The Cubs are back.
See,
the Cubs are back.
And I don't know if they talked about this in the clubhouse. Did they know about the donuts that I ate? Did they know how I snapped them out of it with all the donuts? I hope they at least told you thank you. No?
The word was out there. I mean, in the clubhouse, they were referring to it as the donut game. I'm probably not supposed to share that, but there might be T-shirts. I'm just saying.
Probably. All right.
Obvious shirts get on there.
What were they saying though about Cade Horton? Honestly, because that was a really great pitching performance by a very promising young pitcher.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway was just his command of the zone. I think it was 56 strikes out of 67 pitches, something just absurd like that today. Just absolutely pounding the zone with confidence. And Carson Kelly talked about how, from the beginning when Horton was first called up, how impressed Kelly has been with Horton's mound presence and the way that when stuff does start to happen, he gets traffic on the bases. He never he doesn't really show that he's rattled by it or anything like that. Because we saw in the first inning a spot where things could have easily taken a turn when Matt Shaw loses a ball in the sun, and what should have been out number 2, now you got a runner on second base. That same situation very easily can go in a lot of different directions, but Horton turns around and shuts things down and was really just lights out the rest of the day. So lots of high praise for him from Kelly, from Counsell. Counsell talked about the impact that he's having on the team right now. So when you're trying to get yourself back to the top of the division, Horton's going to have a lot to do with that. There's, of course, a lot of questions about, pitch limits and when he was pulled out of the game and those kinds of things. And they're keeping in mind, let's keep this guy healthy into October. But yeah, so much of his importance too, though, is what he's able to do for these guys right now.
And what was so impressive to me about this start too, if you are going to be on a pitch limit, you might as well make those pitches count. I forget what the exact numbers were, but it was 67 pitches and 56 strikes. Yeah, that's phenomenal efficiency for what you're trying to do. You won't be able to live in the strike zone that much in every game, but when it's working, and today it was working.
Yeah, no walks. No walks has been a real key for him, whether it was at AAA or up at the major league level. Now, we saw that Assad made his start for Iowa, and there's news on Amaya that he might be back fairly soon. And what would that mean for the Cubs?
Yeah, so the latest that we got from Counsell today was that they're looking at that Toronto series. So it looks like Amaya will stay in AAA through the weekend. That's what, those were Counsell's words today, that they're eyeing the Toronto series for him to come back. I think some of that has to do with they want to make sure he's fully ready to go, because you don't want to bring him back because these injuries can sneak back up on you sometimes. So they want to make sure he's fully healthy. But also, you have 2 pretty good catchers on the roster right now. So there's also not a huge rush to make that move. But yeah, I think getting Amaya back is also going to be helpful for an offense that, as we've talked about a little bit, has been a little slow going for a while. And sometimes getting a fresh bat in that lineup, and especially somebody with Amaya's potential, that can do a lot for an offense too. So it looks like 3 more games without him, and then we'll have some roster decisions after that, because he is currently on the 60-day DL, which does mean that there's going to have to be a 40-man related move. And I think for a lot of people, the obvious move is just DFA Reese McGuire. And that may very well be what happens. It is probably the easiest move to make. But like I said, it's not as if McGuire has played so poorly that it's easy to just say, all right, there you go. Because if they do DFA him, it's very likely he's going to get claimed by another team.
Jared, I wanted to ask you, Kyle Tucker not in the lineup today. Now, to be very fair, Craig Counsell tried to give PCA a day off with game 1. Seiya had game off game 2. Kyle Tucker leading the off day, had the day off today. Any further information on, was it getting a blow, getting a mental reset? Did they mention anything about injury at all? And kind of, where do you stand currently on Kyle Tucker just in his offensive performance? Because last night was the first time that, we have slumps, but that was the first time I really saw Kyle Tucker seem out of character offensively with his plan at the plate.
Yeah, we talked to Kyle for quite a bit before the game today. Asked him a little bit about how he's feeling physically and just where he's at mentally. And he says physically he feels okay. I know there's the hand injury, which, is going to have an impact on a hitter. But he says, he feels okay. But he did acknowledge, there's a little bit of frustration that's creeping up because he's told us he feels like there have been a lot of pitches that normally he would drive that he's fouling off and he's doing things like that. So his timing is a little bit off and he knows it. And so we do see sometimes, maybe Seiya is a good example of that today, perhaps, where sometimes just having that one day to just reset, take the day off, you're not in the lineup, and getting a full day off. I think there's a lot to be said for that too. And then now going into the off day tomorrow before they start the series in St. Louis, sometimes that can help. So if it were me, I would be tempted to sit Tucker for even longer because if there is at all any physical stuff involved, I think the more downtime he can get, the better. Because once he does, assuming that he will snap out of this slump, that's a massive boost for the offense. You're a major, major difference. So that is something the Cubs badly need if they really are going to snap out of things. So some encouraging news on that front. So I do think we'll see Tucker back in the lineup in St. Louis on Friday.
We have Matthew Boyd on the mound against the Cardinals on Friday. And then, of course, the Brewers are coming up off in the horizon. You hope they lose tonight maybe. But, Jared, you had a chance to talk to Matthew Boyd. Obviously, been a really special season, his first season with the Cubs. He's been everything they've asked him to be and more. But he's doing important work off the field as well. How much can you tell us about it's coming out tomorrow? Is that when your article's coming out? Your piece?
That's correct. Yeah. First thing tomorrow morning. So our readers can keep an eye out for that on our website. But yeah, I talked to him about work that he and his wife are doing to fight against child sex trafficking in Uganda specifically. It's something that caught my attention because, he doesn't talk a whole lot about it. It's not on the forefront too much, but I was kind of aware of it. And so there was one day earlier this season where he was out on the field before the game, and I grabbed him and I said, "Hey, can you tell me about this a little bit?" And he ended up, he came into the dugout and talked to me for 20 minutes. And then, helped me get in touch with his wife, Ashley, who's actually the one who started this organization. Or I should say the two of them started it together, but she's really kind of the spearhead of the whole thing. So got to learn a lot about what they're doing and just the importance of it. And so, yeah, I would tell our readers, keep an eye out for that first thing tomorrow. It's good stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, it's always good to know some of the things the players are doing off the field, especially when it's important like that, right? Players go out and do different things, but that's something that's impacting people around the world. You were going to ask something?
No, I didn't have a question. I was just going to point out it is going to be free for
it won't be behind a paywall.
It will not be behind the paywall. It will be free. It's a very important thing to me that I think that everyone should be reading. Jared did a great job on it.
Yeah, allchgo.com. So go check out Jared's piece, obviously. And if you haven't been to the website, then you get to check it out for the first time.
One more question before we go, guys, and I want everybody to answer this. You have the Cardinals, then you have the Blue Jays, and then you have the Pirates before you get the Brewers for that big series at Wrigley Field. How many games back do the Cubs need to trim it before they get to that Brewers series? If you're just looking at it, if you're realistically the Cubs, what number would you like to get it started the day at 4, Brewers by 4. In 1 month, they went from 4 up to 4 down on the Brewers. We got 5 minutes left in the show. What number would you like to see the Brewers lead at if you're the Cubs, realistically, by the time you get to that series at Wrigley Field?
I'll jump in first on this one. I think you got to cut it in half. I think you got to get it to 2. So the Brewers got a series coming up against the Mets. Then they play the Pirates and the Reds. So they're playing a sort of similar schedule that the Chicago Cubs are playing. The Toronto Blue Jays leading their division. The Mets trying to make the playoffs, and then they get the Reds and the Pirates in between. For me, I think you got to get it down to 2 because at the very least, let's just say you win 3 of those 5 games, you trim it to 1. You hang in there. If it goes the other direction, 3 games, not the end of the world, in my opinion. Of course, I would love nothing more than to be tied or a half game back or even a half game or a full game up. But I think, yeah, KM, I'm in agreement. I think you got to trim it to 2. I think that's a good striking distance for when you take on that huge 5-game series. For the Cubs to feel good about themselves and Cubs fans to feel like that we can maybe take the division back or at least hang in there no matter what happens in that series.
Jared, what do you think? 2 sound like a good number?
Yeah, I like that number because with it being a 5-game series at Wrigley, you are setting yourself up pretty nicely to then be, very optimistically to then be a couple of games ahead by the end of that series. Because the tricky thing is once that series is done, as we all know, like they don't play each other head to head anymore. And so whatever ground you get against them between now and then during that series, it's really going to have to make that count because from then on, you're dependent on however they perform versus how you perform while you're not playing against each other. So I like 2, but I'd say, if you can do even better than that, that's, I'm not going to turn it down.
Did the players this morning say anything about scoreboard watching? Once you're down 4, that's not a position they've been in.
Well, it's funny when you ask them stuff like that because they all say that they don't really know, but I wonder about that. Kyle Tucker was asked about that, and he's like, I don't know, what are we down, 3 or 4? And so, maybe they genuinely don't know, but I'm skeptical.
Strangely accurate by Kyle Tucker.
I know.
He seemed to know the general ballpark of where they were in the standings. That's funny.
He's right on the nose.
A month ago, up 4, something like that.
Yeah. I was throwing a number out there. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be good with that. All right, thanks, Jared. We're going to look for your article about Matthew Boyd coming out tomorrow. We look forward to Matthew Boyd pitching on Friday. Are you at any of the games this weekend?
I'll actually be on the south side. So if any of our White Sox people want to, if they want to check in, it looks like I'll be there on Sunday. Gonna touch base with them and see how things are going down there.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jared. Appreciate all the hard work out there.
Thanks, guys.
Great feature, Jared.
Jared Wyllys. Look forward to reading his feature coming out tomorrow. Patrick, you're the last one to answer this. Is 2 enough? Trim the lead from 4 to 2 by the time you get to the Brewers?
I'm fine if you don't even get it down to 2.
Really?
See,
I think I disagree with you. I think it has to at least be down to 2.
That'd be great. If you go into it though with the mentality of you control your destiny based on how you still control your destiny based on how you attack that series. And I think that if you the most important thing right now, because here's the thing. Do you know who the Brewers play?
What, the next 3
series?
Yeah, the Mets,
Mets,
the Pirates, and the Reds.
Mets, Pirates, and Reds. Yeah. Cubs have the Blue Jays, which is not going to be an easy series. They've got the Cardinals, which also won't be an easy series. I don't know what they did last night, but I believe they got back over or just are
they've
maybe
dropped
a game
below
under.
the Reds. They're
anytime
right
you go
around
to
that
St.
Pirates
Louis, though,
list.
Sure,
Yeah.
but the Cubs struggled with the Reds.
Yes, I know.
It
and the Orioles too.
It would be a big help if the Reds could provide the same service to the Brewers that they provided to the Cubs this past week, and maybe win 2 out of 3. But again, I said this, and I'll stay consistent with it the other day. I'm not too focused on scoreboard watching until that series.
Can I follow up with you?
Sure.
So if it's at 4 games and the Brewers take 3 of 5 in that series, is the season over?
It could be, probably not. I mean, you still have a
That's
month
why
and a
I
half.
want it to be 2.
Okay.
That's
fair.
why I need it to be 2.
Whatever. You control your destiny.
I'd like
That's
it to be
Yeah,
0.
it's
I'd
true.
like it to be 0, but
Yeah, fat chance.
I'd like 10 donuts to knock myself out of
That's a real fat chance.
Thanks for joining us today. We had a good time in the live YouTube chat. Thanks to Jared Wyllys. Thanks to Patrick Norton. Thanks to Joey Christopoulos. Thanks to Sarah running the ones and twos. Thanks to you in the live YouTube chat. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out today. Cubs win 6-1. They get a great game from Horton. They get an immaculate inning. Are you kidding me? And they get a win, most importantly. Corey and Brendan on Thursday for you with the podcast. Until then, thanks for watching and fly the W.